is going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here with another episode of Dolphins with Dillon. So got a few things I want to talk about today, and then obviously it is Coordinator Thursday, so I have press conferences from Adam Gase, Darren Rizzi, Matt Burke, Dow Loggins, unless some weird shit like last week happens where there was absolutely zero sound on all of the sources that I could find for the Dow Loggins interview, so I didn't have it. Yeah, it was weird. Anyway, so real quick, let me get into a couple things here. First and foremost, let me talk about the injuries a little bit. Tannehill's out there. He's fine. They wrapped his ankle at practice. He's limited, whatever, but he's looking fine. His mobility's fine. And he's been declared as, playing by him and Gase, barring some crazy, major setback. So that's good. Xavier Howard has not practiced again, but he has not been ruled out yet, and he said that, Adam Gase said today that he's basically going to leave it up to X, and, whether or not he feels like he's able to go. So, take that for what you will. I take that as there's a good possibility he could play. I really hope so, because we could definitely use him. The Vikings are not as potent of an overall team as the Patriots are, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. So, we'll see, but obviously it would definitely increase our chances to have X out there. Besides that, though, I mean, there's I'll give you the full injury report and stuff tomorrow, the final one of the week, but, there's some other guys on there, like KD and Parker are, injured, but they're full participants. Some guys are limited. I think Frank Gore had his day off today, his veteran rest day. So, I mean, there's some other little stuff, but for the most part, we're pretty healthy overall, which is good. So yeah. Okay, so I do want to get into a couple other things that I found interesting, because as I've told you guys, I've been watching, fan reaction videos and all these different shows, Good Morning Football and, other podcasters and, everybody's take on this. And first of all, I'd like to talk about how, and I did already talk about this a little bit, the just complete Patriots bias in damn near all the coverage, right? Everybody's always talking about, oh, Bill Belichick fucked up here and Brady fucked up here and well, what went wrong with this play and, blah, 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 and all this other stuff, right? And it's like, dude, come on. Can somebody give us some credit? Yeah, look, we outplayed them overall. Sure, okay, it came down to the last seconds of the game. Sure, it came down to, trick play or whatever. Sure, Brady took a sack. They always say he took a sack on, the third down play right before the halftime. No, we sacked him, really. And I mean, if you watch the play, Devon Godshaw was pushing his dude back right into Brady, got really right up on him, got a hand on him, started swatting at the ball. That made him pull the ball down and take his eyes from downfield or towards the end zone or whatever. And then he got cleaned up by, I think, Robert Quinn or whatever. So, I mean, he got sacked. They're making it. And then on top of that, then there's all these excuses. Oh, well, Brady's like, oh, well, I just didn't realize I didn't have a timeout. Rich, get the fuck out of here. He knew he didn't have no timeouts. He just got sacked, and that was all there was to it. And on the trick shit, with the laterals, the miracle, people need to give us some credit, man. Look, I agree. If you want to make the argument, I agree. It was 70 yards. Tannehill's, coming off the shoulder injury a few weeks ago. He's been progressively getting better and better. He had the ankle that he got stepped on, but that didn't prove to be an issue, and it doesn't seem to be an issue now. So I think that's kind of irrelevant, But if you want to use the argument, well, of course they're not going to throw, a Hail Mary 70 yards away. I agree with you. But we just outplayed them. We outplayed them. And Coach Gase outcoached Bill Belichick. That's all there is to it. You know, point blank, bottom line, period. You know, and so they need to give us some goddamn respect. You know, just fucking admit it. Say it. Say it. Right? But of course, you know, the national media is what they are, and they're going to do their thing, and they're always going to have their biases, especially because, you know, the Patriots are, you know, they've been running things for the past couple decades. Right? So that takes me into the next thing I want to talk about. I watched, like I said, I've been watching all these like reaction videos and stuff like that and whatever. And I watched one actually, I watched a couple from Patriots fans, but I watched one, it was this couple, it was this dude and this chick, and they're bitching about, what's his nuts that missed the field goal and the extra point or whatever. And they're bitching about, you know, Gronk being on the field, Gostkowski, that's his name, their kicker, you know, all this other shit or whatever. And it's, if you watch, I did like the video, it was entertaining, so I hit the like button, it was fun, but during this whole time, they're sitting there talking about about the Patriots, like, they're just entitled to win games. Like, and it's funny to me, because Patriots fans really feel like they just deserve to win every game. Like, they are just the greatest ever, and nobody should ever beat them because they have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and blah, 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 blah. They, literally, you know, and they were going through it. The dude was going through it, and he's like, the 4 losses that we had were close games, and they were terrible teams. Terrible, terrible teams. And he starts listing them off. The Lions. Okay, the Lions are not actually that great of a team. I agree. You know, they do have Matthew Stafford, but, you know, they've been having some struggles. But also, think about it, they also have Matt Patricia, who was the defensive coordinator for Bill Belichick. So he outplayed Bill Belichick in that game. That's all there is to it, you know? But okay, fine. They're certainly not as good as the Patriots. Right? Whatever. And they're not a particularly good team, period. Then he says the Titans. The Titans are actually a decent team. Marcus Mariota's pretty good. He's got a problem with taking care of the football sometimes. But overall, I mean, they have a good team. They have Derrick Henry. You know, they got a solid O-line. Their defense is pretty stout. So they're not a shitty team. In his defense, he called them mediocre. Yeah, but I would say they're mediocre, leaning towards the better part of mediocre. You know, the higher end of mediocre. Who was the other one? Oh, man. Oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, he's talking about them. Yes, they're doing terrible this year, record-wise. But they're not a bad team. They're doing bad primarily because Bortles sucks. And they don't have shit for quarterback. But their defense is actually pretty good and has you know, pretty talented players. And their offense does too, aside from the quarterback position. And that's probably been one of their biggest downfalls this year. But and last year they did great, right? So, you know, they're not doing well this year, but they're not necessarily a bad team either. I think they're a pretty decent team. And then he talks about us, and he was like, this is the worst Miami Dolphins roster that they've had in like the past 5 years. Whoa, he needs to pump the brakes on that for sure, because this is the best team, the best roster, certainly, right? First of all, at the beginning of the year, it was the best roster we've had in years, without question. Even with the injuries and the guys that we've had to bring in and elevate from practice squad and stuff, it is a testament to the quality of the coaching, the unity in the team, the way they fight for each other and all that good stuff. And look, man, we're a good team. The Dolphins are a good team. They've had struggles this year, but it has been primarily due to the fact that we've just been losing guys left or right. Now, I believe, if my count is correct, we have 12 people on IR. 12 people on IR. You know, and a couple guys that might, you know, or Xavier Howard didn't play this last game. You know, it is possible he doesn't play the upcoming game. You know, we still got guys, of course, just like every other team, playing that are banged up, not 100%. But I'm pretty sure we have more people on IR than any other team. So it has had a lot to do with that. But to get into the last part of this conversation that I really want to talk about is that we are a better team than what people are giving credit for. And I mean, honestly, at this point, I find it more entertaining the way that, you know, like national media and everything portrays it. And even, you know, a lot of the Dolphins, you know, media, like Omar Kelly and Dave Hyde, man, those two, I watched some of the X's and Omar's shows, and man, they are just so cynical. And they just think everything is fucking, I don't know. Anyway, I can't bring myself to be, you know, like a habitually cynical, pessimistic person, even if I tried, right? Like I'm a realist, and I see the flaws, I recognize them, I see where there's problems, you know, stuff like that and whatever, but man, some people just really go off the deep end with that shit, and it's crazy. Anyway, so I find it more entertaining really at this point than anything, and I also like it because I love the way that they're proving people wrong, man. And so, you know, I feel really good about this team, man, and I think that we are going to, I think Gase has got them going, and I think that we're going to win out, baby, and I think that we are going to make it to the playoffs with a 10-6 record, and, you know, we're going to continue to shock people, and that's all there is to it. And so, anyway, with that, guys, that's really all I had to say. I hope you guys enjoy the show. I'm going to get you off to these interviews now, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. I appreciate that. I love that. You know, also, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts for my videos. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. We are creeping closer to 100. I know it's huge. It's a big deal. We're getting to that first 100. So let's keep that up, and make sure you're hitting me up, talk with me, you know, share your thoughts, you know, whatever. Just chop it up, tell me what you think about the games, my videos, so on and so forth. You know, and also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro, because you can hit me up there, ask me your questions there, check out the videos and the retweets and stuff that I post on there, all that good stuff. So with that, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy the interviews, and fins up.
I have asked you this question constantly, and it's been a constant issue, third down issues. Mm-hmm. Now, outside of getting in favorable down and distance situations, how do you fix that?
I mean, I feel like most of the time it has to do with penalties, and that's down and distance, but if not, it's just executing, you know, everybody knowing their assignment and going out there and doing it.
So if it's been a consistent issue for 3 years, though.
Has it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I have to go look at, you know, the film, so I can give you a better answer for that. But most of the time, it's just us. It comes down to us executing. Guys aren't knowing their job, aren't doing their job, or you know, we're not prepared, you know, for different looks that they're giving us, or you know, we're not picking up pressures, or you know, it's obviously multiple things that could be happening.
Have you ever gone against Xavier Rhodes, and what stands out to you about him?
Yeah, I played against, I think I played against him in college at Florida State. He's a good player. You know, I'm excited for the matchup. You know, it's they've got a great defense all around. They've got a great secondary, so it'll be a fun game.
Their defense is one of the top-ranked units. What stands out to you when you watch the film?
The way they fly around to the ball. I feel like, you know, they do a good job, obviously, of knowing their assignment and executing. But no, I see them on film all getting to the ball and you know, wrapping up and keeping guys from making big plays.
Their cornerbacks, both of them only have one interception this season. Is there a rhyme or reason to that, or?
I mean, it seems like the guys, the front seven, are getting the quarterback down, so they're not throwing the ball.
That's a good point.
Kenny, I know you have to focus on the job at hand with the Vikings, but I got to ask you, what's it like to be part of a play that's going to be talked about by fans for years?
Yeah, I think it's something that we really don't understand. You know, We've done a good job of kind of putting that behind us this week, and but I think as the years go on, and at the end of this season, we'll be able to really look back and understand, how big of a play that was. But like I said last week, if we don't finish the season strong and we don't make the playoffs, then to me it doesn't really matter, how great of a play that was.
And just a couple other quick housekeeping things on that. I know Devontae said he's watched the play 5 times. Kenyon joked on radio he's watched it a zillion. How many times have you watched it since Sunday?
Probably less than 10. Like I said, I've tried to just really put it behind me, really just focus on the Vikings and figuring out ways to win these last couple of games. I want to get into the playoffs. We want to get into the playoffs as a team, and we know that opportunity is out there. So we've got to figure out a way to finish the season strong and find our way in the playoffs.
Kenny, is there I know the road rose for this team, but is there a double sense of urgency knowing, we don't have to fix them all, but we definitely got to fix them for this game?
We know that we control our own destiny, and we've got to win in order to keep our hopes alive. So that's the attitude that we're taking towards, every game from here on out.
I want to wish him a happy birthday publicly. We had a little cake for him this morning, which was nice. As far as the plays last week, it's never one thing. I think John's kind of taking the brunt of the quote-unquote blame. It's never one thing. He's obviously the center of it, so he obviously gets a lot of attention his way. It's really it was a myriad of things. I mean, on both, there's a lot of little intricacies that we got to get cleaned up, and I'll give New England credit. They did a good job. Their player McClellan did a hell of a job. Great rush by him, and so we've been kind of working this week on getting a few things. There's alignments, there's hand placement, there's technique, there's all kinds of things. I think, again, John gets kind of the blame because the guy rushed on him, and we just got to do a better job on a few things. So, it's kind of a week to get back to your fundamentals and techniques and that kind of thing, and so we've been working on that, so that's about it.
Do you feel like it was something that they saw in the film that they exploited? Or
no, again, we did a pretty good job of getting a hat on a hat. That wasn't like a guy came free. We got, again, we got to do a little better job with there's an alignment thing we got to correct it. There's a protection thing where John can get some help. There's a couple things. So, again, it's never, it always wants to be one thing. Everyone wants to blame one person and pinpoint it on one guy. And again, John's done a great job here for a long time. We'll continue to do that. I'm not worried about John Denny at all.
How did you process those moments on Sunday?
Well, they're game changers, in the game, and so obviously we did a heck of a job after the second one of stopping them before the half, which obviously we didn't let become, a snowball deal for us. When you're in the game like that, obviously with any play, every play we dissect and look at any potential breakdowns. So it's really no different than any other play. You're looking at see what happened and kind of do it from there. And we thought we had it corrected the first time. Obviously we didn't, and then we got it corrected from there. So.
It seemed like you guys went with the rugby style for a bit. Is that just what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I mean that's something we've practiced now for a couple of years. With Matt, something that Matt's able to do that he's done a lot in his past, and so that's the ability to have that in. And although we went to it in the second half a couple times there. It's certainly not something that we're going to be, it's not going to be something we're going to be doing a boatload of. It's just a change-up, a natural change-up for that game. Thought it was a good time to break it out.
Tell us something good. What else you got?
Something good?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
What were you encouraged by on Sunday then?
This past Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of things. I mean, our effort was tremendous. I thought our rush on our field goal blocks certainly helped with their with their misses a little bit. Certainly the second one, tremendous effort. We had a couple of mental things that were a little bit uncharacteristic of us. The effort in our special teams has been really, really good. That's been good. I think there's a couple of mental things that a little bit, like I said, a little bit uncharacteristic of us that we got to get cleaned up. So it's this time of year. I told the players, in the beginning of the season, you look at special teams. And there's a lot of big plays in the beginning of the year, and there's a little bit of a lull. I'm talking about in general. And then there's a lot of big plays at the end of the year. And there's a reason for that. In the beginning of the season, you don't have the same atmosphere that you have in the preseason games, and there's a little bit of I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little bit of a misconception on what the tempo is going to be and all that, because you don't really get the live look at it. So you see a lot of big plays early in the season on special teams, a lot. Blocks and returns and crazy plays. Then there's a little bit of a lull during the season where things kind of level out. And then at the end of the season, you see a spike in the big plays again. And again, you have a lot of new players. Every team has injuries. You get new players playing. Your fundamentals and techniques, you don't work on them as much in practice anymore. You're working on more scheme throughout the season, and that starts to take a little bit of a dip. And as I told our guys on Wednesday this week, that's it's kind of a back to basics, beginner's mentality type of thing. You got to be really locked in on your fundamentals. All the training stuff that we did in OTAs and training camp, and you're kind of back to what your square one type of thing. And that's in everything that we're doing. That's not just our punt protection, everything, and not just it's offense, it's defense, it's special teams. And so this is the time of year where you really, really got to lock in on your technique and really go back to what you rely on. And it sounds really simple, but in this time of year, blocking and tackling, simple things are going to win football games. You're the best tackling teams, the best blocking teams, the teams that win situations. Heck, I mean, you look at the end of a half, both halves of our game last week. We won both situations. We won the football game in tight games and one-score games. Teams that win situations like that, the end of the half, the 2 minutes, the 4 minutes, and things like that, are usually this time of year going to win. And it comes down to, you look at how many close games there have been now in the NFL the last month or so, and you look at how many one-score games we've been in ourselves. And it could come down to a play here or there. So really kind of locking in mentally on the situations. And, we spend a lot of time on that. This time of year, you get a little bit off you're not doing as much physically in practice, and it gets a little bit more mental. And that's everywhere across the league. And, and there's more evidence on film and watching film and studying film. That becomes the mental part of the game becomes so much more important. And that's kind of what we're kind of locking in on right now across the board, And not only that one game mentality, but the same thing with the fundamentals and techniques. And so that's been a huge emphasis for us, and that's going to be a huge part of what we're doing moving forward with these games. Starting this Sunday is going to be really important. So that's going to be something that we're locking in on.
Research on opposing field goal percentage, opposing extra point percentage. It seems like, and if you don't, I can find it. But
yeah.
Do you know you guys this year, over a 2-year period, over a 3-year period, at the top or among the top few teams? And assuming that that's true, can you tell me a little bit about why?
Yeah, if you look at our numbers over the past, even if you take like the last 5 years, for example, we're definitely in the top 5 in the league in terms of opponent field goal percentage against. I can't tell the exact number for 5 years, but right now I believe we're in the top few again for 3, 4, or 5 years in a row. You know what? There's a few factors involved. I like to tell you that our effort on film is tremendous. That's one thing we pride ourselves on is effort. If we're going to make mistakes, the one thing we always talk about on special teams is being fast and physical. If we're going to make a mistake, we're going to be doing it full speed. We're going to be the most physical team. If you look at the effort on our field goal block team, that's something we pride ourselves on, and I think that shows on the opponent film. The opponents are looking at it. They're locking in on the protection. The operation speeds up a little bit, and all of that factors in. We've definitely got our hands on some, which has helped, and I think we forced some kicks wide here and there. And as we all know, the little bit of an inch or a half a second or a quarter of a second makes a big deal on a field goal. The operation, all that, and so I think over the course of time, that's probably the reason why we've been successful in that area. And the same thing if you look at our numbers in terms of punt, net punt against and gross punt against, same type of thing with our rush. I think we've done a good job. Again, goes back to the players really buying in and giving great effort, tremendous effort in those areas, and I think those areas we've been pretty consistent at over the course of time. So,
for instance, Jakeem got hurt. You obviously have mixed and matched a bit, both punt and kickoff. Haven't seen a ton of chances, it doesn't seem like. Is that fair?
Yeah, really, if you look at the kick return over the course of, since Jakeem's been out, since we really have Drake back there, Drake, Balaj, or Sonoris, the guys we've had back there, we haven't had a ton of opportunities. Now we end up getting a squib kick at the end of the game this week, and we got one short kick. But it's been only a handful opportunities. Listen, Kenyon Drake has also had a great career in terms of return numbers. He's had a lot of big plays. I think no different than when teams saw Jakeem back there, teams see Drake, and some teams are going to kick it high and short and take a chance. Some teams are going to see a guy and they're going to drive it out of the end zone. So, we've done a pretty good job with the field position in that regard. As far as the punts go, that really is a game-by-game thing. It's, you can really never predict how that's going to go. It depends on the field position, your call, whether it's a rush or a return. And so, obviously, we've kind of had a lot of different people back there with Danny and Kenny and things like that. So, but you're right. There hasn't been some wide-open opportunities like we had maybe earlier in the season. And that's another trend. You look at the kickoff return, the new rules this year. that's kind of been unique to follow. It's been unique to follow the touchback percentage and how that's going. That the play itself has been very successful in terms of the new rules and what we're trying to accomplish with the new rules. But there's a lot of teams that are opting for touchbacks, avoid the penalties, get the ball to the 25-yard line, and so that plays into it as well. And there's some teams that are deciding, hey, there was a lot more teams kicking the ball short with the old rules than the new rules. And I think we talked about in the beginning of the year, we didn't know how that was going to kind of go. And it's on a team-by-team basis, but the consensus is you get more teams kicking the ball deep right now and more teams staying in. So the touchback percentage is up a little bit. And I think, the player safety issues that we want to accomplish, through 13 games, we've accomplished, and we've really cleaned that play up, and I think it's really going really, really well.
Information on concussions being down?
I don't know the exact numbers. I do know that right now, at this point in the season, they put some numbers out at the mid-year point, and we were certainly trending in the right direction. And I don't think through the last 5 weeks that has changed at all. I know that the people that were involved in the discussions in the committee and all that, the coaches and the NFL and everybody that was involved, are very pleased right now with the way the play is going. It's kind of what we expect, a little bit more wide open play, took some of the bigger bodies out of it, took some of the back end collisions out of the play, and I know that the numbers are down. I know the injury numbers are down, but I don't have the specifics for you.
Did you think that the miracle play was going to work? Feel good about that?
The miracle play, I had an interesting perspective where I was kind of in the middle of the field, and once Drake got the ball, I think like most of us, we thought he was probably going to give it up one more time, but then when he kind of cut back to his left, back across the field, and started to go back up the field, I knew Gronk was back there as well. When he first came out, we kind of looked back there, and a couple of us, I know Brock Osweiler mentioned it. I think Brock Osweiler said out loud, why is Gronk back there? So, I knew once he broke into the open field, I was kind of saying to myself, to be honest with you, I hope he just keeps the ball at this point, because the guys that were trailing him, I was hoping Ted Larson and the boys weren't going to get the ball. So, what happened was with me, with where I was standing on the field, guys started, Kenyon was about the 10-yard line, and a bunch of our guys started to run out into the field, so I lost vision of the ball. And so all I did was look up at the fans. I just looked at the fans' reaction. That's how I knew he scored. And then I got my eyes up onto the screen. But so I was saying to myself, I hope the fans are right. So, with where he was. And then just obviously the first thing you do as a coach, what are you doing? You're looking for the flags. You're looking back behind the play, making sure the pitches were legal. You're making sure that nobody had a hold or a block in the back. On those long returns, you always see those, obviously. And then was just hoping that I knew they were going to review the play, obviously, because it was a scoring play and a game winner. I was just hoping that he didn't step on the sideline. So once all those things cleared, then the celebration started for sure. And but just a testament to our guys. You guys have heard me say it before. I think over the course of the time that certainly that Adam's been here, we've been in a lot of crazy games and a lot of endings and a bunch of different types of endings, And, I think our guys have grown accustomed, over the last few years of playing to the end. We've had a bunch of crazy different endings in the last 3 years, and that's certainly the craziest, but really a testament to the guys of playing right to the end. And like I said, winning this, in that case, we won the situation. And situational football this time of year wins those games, so.
What would you
kudos.
say the personality of this team is?
Overall personality, you gotta kind of like the way the guy. It's kind of like that lunch pail, hard hat kind of mentality. Guys come to work every day. We go out in the field. No different than our Wednesday, Thursday practices this week. Guys go out. They know what they got. And I kind of like that. It's kind of my personality too. It's kind of, hey, bring your lunch pail to work, put the hard hat on. We're going to work. And then on Sunday we're doing the same thing. We're guys that are fighting, and our sideline has been excellent this year in terms of guys staying in the game, staying in the moment, and kind of just having that blue collar mentality, the hard work mentality, and then we're just going to keep grinding and pounding the rock, and eventually we're going to crack it. And that's kind of where we've been. And with whoever's been in there, we obviously have had a lot of guys move in and out, got a lot of replacements and injuries, and guys that have stepped up and done plays. Kind of like no matter who it is, it's been that same mentality. It hasn't changed. With any position, whatever injuries we've had, it's kind of stayed the same that way.
Do you think the temperament of the team is one of the biggest changes from last year?
Well, you know what? I think this. I think that I definitely think we improved our locker room for sure. No doubt about that. I think you look at some of the guys we brought in here, and I know this has been talked about a lot, but some of the leadership we brought in, some of the different guys, the mentality, but even a guy, even guys, that were late additions, like a guy like Brandon Bolden, for example. A guy like that has brought a leadership to the team, and anybody we've added, it seems like any piece we've added whether it was the off season or after, the 53 cuts or whatever, have been really welcome additions to the locker room. And there's just there's no drama, if you will. I don't see that. You guys know I've been around here for a couple of years, and there's been some drama-filled stuff that's happened here. That's no big. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag on that one. But it doesn't. I don't feel that with this crew. I feel like like I said, it's a lunch pail, hard hat crew. We're bringing our lunch to work every day. We're putting the hard hat on. We're going out to work. And this is not a drama group. There's no. I don't see the divas and the drama queens, whatever you want to call them, whatever the right term is or the wrong term, if you will. I don't see that, and I see a lot of camaraderie. I see a lot of cohesiveness. I see a lot of going out and wanting to and get their job done. We call it 111th. I see a lot of guys doing their 111th every day on a daily basis, no matter who it is, coaches, players, the whole the entire organization. So that's kind of, I think, kind of where we are right now from a personality standpoint. It's kind of where we are from a team temperament and overall personality. I think that's kind of where we are.
What's it like to know you've still got a chance in December?
You know what? It's when you're playing games this late, it's always nice to know they still count. There's no doubt about that. But at this point, it's this one that matters because the next one's not going to matter as much, or vice versa. If we don't take care of business. So, but there's no doubt about when you're playing in week 4 or week 15, game 14, week 15. We feel like at this point, obviously, we control our own destiny. So it's one game at a time at that, and starts this week in Minnesota.
Who you hadn't had contact with in decades. I mean, what neat happened?
I'm sure just like all the people in that building next door. I mean, I've got a bunch of text messages still hadn't returned. Just the excitement of a game like that. A bunch of text messages from people you hear from once a year. It was a awesome way to win. It was credit to our players, how hard they played and not to give up in that moment because it would have been really easy to do that. But really proud of those guys.
Was there anything that you reminded Adam of before the play in your role as sort of,
we just talked about, we were trying to get ahead and talk about the 2-minute situation, stay ahead of the situation. So we started going through those things and just remind some of the assistant coaches to, make sure we hit Boise and the last play of the game plays. And so we went through that stuff and, just on the sideline, talk through those, make sure that each position group was schooled up and ready to go on it.
I want to ask you about Juwan James and his play, primarily in that game, and with the pulling. How often have you seen tackles that pull? Or is it common?
I wouldn't say it's common because a lot of those guys they're really long and they don't have lower body flexibility, and that's one attribute that Juwan definitely has. He's a good lower body athlete. He can bend, he can move. So, we felt that it was advantageous that week to pull, and he played really well overall and did a good job for us.
Well, where have you seen? I know you weren't here in past years, but where have you seen the most growth from him this season?
Consistency. He has a tendency he'll play a little high and. Because he is a long, leggy athlete. And so it's for him to play with better pad level and be able to sink his hips because he does have the ability to do it. But his length is, it can be a strength and a weakness for him if he doesn't play with good pad level. And that's the biggest thing I think I've seen.
Have you ever been a part of a team that's played 60 minutes like this team plays 60 minutes because no beam seems to be decided one way or the other until literally it's over?
I don't know. Maybe in college, I was part of the 2 longest overtime games in the history of football, 7 overtimes against when I was Arkansas versus Ole Miss and Kentucky. They actually got tied this year, but it's credit to our guys because they play hard and they believe, and it's one thing to believe, hey, we got a chance, but they play hard. They shows up on tape how they're committed to each other, committed to Coach Gase, and obviously he deserves a lot of credit for not only instilling that message, but make sure you're picking players that football's important to and that they're going to do their jobs for the guy next to them and for the team.
Yeah, it seems to me that the way that game went on Sunday, it would have been easy for some people just to pack it in and go home. I mean, that's to just see that kind of effort in the last play was, I think, pretty good.
I think the biggest thing it talks about is the buy-in. you know, when you, because it is like there's always doubt that creeps in your mind. Those guys are human, just like you guys. Probably, you know, I heard after the game, those before that last place, ESPN has like 99.9% chance we're gonna lose that game, and you know, it's just the attitude of don't look at the scoreboard. You can only control what you can, and Coach preached all week. You know, we're a good home team, and you know we got a good home crowd, and we're gonna play hard and do those things. And you know, those guys, whatever it was, they're gonna execute that last play, you know, as hard as they could and do their jobs, and they did. And because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that play if everyone's not perfect.
You talked about being a good home team, but you guys have only won one game on the road this year.
Yeah.
How much of that is the challenge of maybe offenses don't travel well on the road?
Yeah, you know what? I wish I had a better answer for it. I just don't think we've executed as well as we need to as a team on all three phases. We flashed. You know, I thought Cincinnati, we played 2.5 really good quarters and then didn't finish the game. And, you know, we need to put together 60 minutes again this week and of good execution and not turning the ball over, not beating ourselves, and, you know, find a way to find a win on the road because this one's a big one.
Smythe has had a few key run blocks.
Yes.
How has his performance and production increased the confidence on the coaching staff?
A lot. You know, I give Shane Day a lot of credit because he's developed him and done a really good job. But at the end of the day, it's always about, you know, Durham's want to get better. And he's been patient, you know, just like every position we have. Like we play a lot of people here. And I think it also creates a buy-in for the team that everyone has a role. Their job's to fulfill that role. And one week it's bigger than the next, and you know Durham's the guy the last 2 or 3 weeks has really gotten to play more and really stepped up and done a nice job. And from where he started when we drafted him to the point he's at, he's really improved in run blocking. And you know hopefully as these next 3 games we get him involved in the pass game as well. But he's done everything the right way. He's a really good kid, hard worker, smart, and you know we expect a lot from him. You know this week and going forward.
How much different is the I formation stuff you guys were running, or when Nick's in the H-back, than what Adam is comfortable with, as he calls it?
You know, it's something that we're trying to incorporate some here and there. We think it's advantageous to give them some 2-back looks because when you look at the league, all these defenses, you know, they just get used to fitting one gap, and it's easier to fit a 1-back defense because each guy's responsible for one gap, and then all of a sudden when you put a 2-back thing in, they got to fit it, and it's not something we've done a lot of, and we've had some success last couple of weeks with it, and you know if we feel like it's advantageous, we'll keep doing it and growing that package a little bit, and we have more than we've shown, you know, with that tying in some of the play actions and nakeds off of it as well.
So considering it's so old school football, I'm assuming it's pretty easy to build off. You just go back to 1980 film and you bring it back.
I mean, now we're calling the I formation 2-back, old school 1980 film. No, you know, New England had more snaps than anybody in that. I think it's in San Francisco and of 2-back runs, and it's just something, you know, it's a package you can build off of, and there's a lot of flexibility in it. Sometimes when you run a bunch of 1-back, the defense can balance up, and sometimes you can gain a number advantage with the 2-back stuff. And teams that play really sound defense and anchor and box things in, sometimes the 2-back stuff can really help you.
Ryan, since he came back from the shoulder, I think his pass rating was 120 or something, and 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Is he playing, when you watch the film, as well as those numbers suggest?
Ryan's done a good job. I mean, there's definitely things that we need to improve on, and you know, he's his biggest critic, and I'm probably second. But you know, Coach Hardigreen's done a really good job of Ryan. You know, I think things are starting to click for him. I think he's seen things really well here lately, taking care of the football. You know, being able to get the ball down the field some. You know, with the play action stuff, and you know, sometimes as the season goes, like the goal is to always keep getting better, and I think Ryan's done a really good job of that. I think as the year's gone on, he's starting to feel more and more comfortable with the moving pieces and starting to feel better about Bryce and where he's going to be when he's out there. And, you know, he and Stills have always had a good chemistry. But Ryan's done a good job. We need to continue to get better and needs to continue to take care of the football, and we got to keep making explosive plays.
So has Kenny's number been called more, or is it just coverages are favoring him?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, I definitely think that there's chemistry that Ryan and he have together. I think Ryan throws the ball down the field really well. And, that's one of I think his strengths. I think that it's really gone up since, when Ryan came out. I think that his deep ball actually has gotten better through the years. And, that's obviously one of Kenny's strengths is he has the ability to stretch the field because he can really run. And, some of the stuff has been game plan to him and coverage dictate. I mean, I think he's the only guy that had multiple catches last week. Stills was. Everyone else had like 1 or 2 here or there. But Kenny had 8, and he played well for us.
Number one thing the Vikings defense does best?
Well, there's a lot of things they do well. Number one, they draft well. They've done a really good job with those the draft picks, and they're big, they're athletic. The best thing they probably do is third down defense because they get after the passer, and they're going to create. They have a good. Coach Zimmer's always been known for the double mug package, and they've kind of added to it and added a couple different packages this year that he hadn't shown. And now they've got one with a third guy down with Smith sitting over the ball as well. So it's just creating different looks with really talented players.
What's double mug?
When they walk the 2 linebackers up in the A gap and they got their 4 down front, the 2 guys are sitting there. They do that package as well as anybody in the NFL.
Okay, so you mentioned third down defense as a strength.
Yeah.
Third down offense is not one of yours. Not one of the teams this year. How do you overcome that?
That's definitely an area that we need to play better at. And we talked about it's been a big emphasis for 17 as well. Like we keep talking about that stuff, and the red area stuff has gotten better the last couple of weeks. We weren't as good as what we need to be there, and I think he's done a better job the last 2 or 3 weeks to make sure we get inside the 20, getting touchdowns. But third down is going to be a big key to this game because they're the best in the NFL and they have been for a couple of years, and we need to do a good job with protection. And Ryan needs it's a tough challenge, but Ryan's up for it, seeing the coverage and make sure you're getting the ball to the open guy. And, this game, you can't win or lose this game on third down. And they do a really good job creating turnovers and doing those things. And we need to be smart and win on first, second down because their third down package is going to create some issues, and we need to be prepared for it.
So he's done a really good job. Obviously, when we use him down in the box and doing some of those things, he's, like I said, I literally thought our tackles, those 2 linebackers and TJ really were the kind of driving factors in the run game being successful for us last week. So he's done a great job with that and fitting. He's honestly probably one of our best communicators back there too. So in terms of just getting guys lined up and getting the checks out and being in tune with the game plan, those sort of things, he does a really good job with that and taking care of his side of things. And whether it's talking to the corner or talking to the nickel or, getting things right when he's down the box and working with the linebackers. So I think he's actually had probably an underrated season, to be honest with you. He's done a good job for us.
You've been using a 5-2 front for a couple of...
Have I? Have I?
Well, 5 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons when you do that? Obviously, I'm assuming you do that to stop the run.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. We have different variations of some of those fronts. Obviously, probably the ones you're referring to. Yeah, if we're in a heavy run situation or a 2-back set or some of those things, we have packages where we can put obviously a bigger body on the field, and load up in some of our fronts and kind of get a little bit stouter and get more firm in there. Obviously, you're taking somebody else off the field, so whether you're limiting yourself in coverage or just, you're I don't want to say you're getting predictable, but we have to have enough pitches off it where they don't know. Obviously, they can see the 5 guys coming out in the field, so obviously we have to have enough change-ups where we're not just stuck in one thing. And but we just try to pick our spots with the matchups when we feel we have a beat on a particular something we're getting from the offense that we'll throw those guys out there. Sometimes we do it honestly to get matchups in a rush game. We'll put 5 guys out even on third downs and those sort of things to try to spread guys out or get matchups in a pass rush game. So we utilize our fronts in different ways.
Viking change offensive coordinator this week. Do you have a follow-up?
I did have a follow-up, but go ahead.
I'll go back there.
We're all
friends here, guys.
You've used a number of packages. I believe, what was it, the elephant? I don't know if you guys call it elephant, where...
We'll call it whatever you want to call it.
The one where everybody's standing up, and then there's one guy who's a primary rusher, kind of disguising the coverage. You haven't used that much this year. Is there a reason why, or? You know which one?
Not really, but not really actually.
The package where I guess a lot of guys are standing up. Like Charles Harris used to be on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some stuff like that where we'll do some of those things. Again, we just go week to week and just say, okay, in terms of, in those sort of things, it's more like, okay, how do we, we're trying to dictate protections or how we can attack a protection on a third down. And again, anytime you're either putting more D linemen out there or utilizing more guys in the rush, obviously you're taking away from your coverage. So there's always a balance in terms of how many guys you can dedicate to rushing or attacking the quarterback versus how many guys you're putting in coverage. So, week to week, we just make those determinations on, whether we're using those type of packages or not. So, I couldn't tell you right now offhand percentages of, we've used it this year versus another year. But every week, that's something that we examine, kind of how we want to utilize those things. And, as a core philosophy, we try to use our 4-down rush as a starting point, so then anything off of that is adjustments we make from there. So we got a few different tricks up our sleeves sometimes.
So if Vikings change offensive coordinator,
yes.
I don't think they have enough time to completely overhaul their scheme.
You don't?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you think?
I'll put that in my notes. I don't know anything.
Put that on the chart. They'll run a few more times. Because the head coaches publicly said we want to run more. So obviously you're aware of sort of things. But I'm wondering about this tendencies, right? So how important, how much time do you actually spend on this coordinator's tendency on 3rd and 1 with the score close in the second quarter or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not having tendencies on this guy, does that mean you discard that notion for this game?
Well, I think it's just going to be an adjustable game plan. I agree. Obviously, they're not just going to put a brand new offense in, and I don't know much about the new coordinator. He's been there for a long time, so there's a lineage of what they've done there, from that point of view. But from a tendency standpoint, in terms of how they're calling things and when they're calling what plays, I think it's just going to be a fluid thing in game, and we just got to get a feel for what their approach is. And to be honest with you, it's like that any week. Everyone self-scouts, and they have a feel for their own tendencies as well. So, you have to be ready to adjust and adapt to different things that are being thrown at you on Sundays, week to week anyways. So this week is just probably going into it a little bit. There's that little bit of unknown from that point of view. So, we've really just tried to focus on us and getting us down and doing our things right and making sure that our calls are being executed. And if there's something new that's thrown at us, then at least we're doing our thing and being in the right spot, and we'll adjust to anything we see from there. So.
I'd like to learn something here.
Okay.
Do you think in general offensive coordinators spend more time focused on tendency break from game to game than defense?
I've never coordinated offense, so I can't necessarily answer that. We look at ourselves. We self-scout every week. So we keep a running full season self-scout, and then, a 4 to 5 week kind of look back on some things. So I try to gain a perspective. If I'm very predictable in a certain area, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes I don't care. That's just dictated by whatever the situation is. But we'll have pitches off things that if we've shown a certain blitz or haven't blitzed in a certain area, that we want to kind of change that if we know offense is expecting one thing. I'm sure offense do that. I know Adam, does a lot of that, where he tries to make sure he's always got corrections and answers to things he's doing. So I'm not sure it's an offensive defensive thing. I think that's probably coach to coach and, how much stock you put in all that stuff.
When you face a quarterback that's completing 71% of his passes and has two very dangerous wide receivers, probably arguably one of the best duos in the league.
Yeah, I'd say so.
How do you kind of neutralize that, or?
That's the answer, right? That's the answer everyone's looking for. I think it's just like we do everything else. The completion percentage stuff. One of sort of a trend in the league is obviously the quick passing game and ball getting out quick, and sometimes it's hard to stop those. We have to be good tackling. so they don't get those yards out of the catch. You have to keep the short passes short and keep those things in manageable situations. I think just like every week, it's about changing our coverages and, keep giving different looks and keep giving different answers. Just, again, try to buy time for a rush to maybe have another second to get there and maybe make him pull it down and not, see something that he's not seeing. So they're two great players. They're both, obviously, they're both top 10 in the NFL in targets, receptions, and all that stuff. So it is a challenge, and I think it's just like every week. I mean, we just got to – there's going to be balls completed. I mean, he's going to complete passes. That's not – it'd be great if we go 0 for something on passing. I doubt that's going to happen. So we have to tackle them when they are completed and keep the short passes from becoming big gains. So we got to keep everything in front of us and tackle those short passes, and then we got to change up enough looks and again keep our coverages mixed up that maybe they don't get a beat on where the answers are.
Do they throw the ball downfield much at all?
Yeah, I think I don't know the exact numbers. I feel like both those guys have like almost 20 explosives each.
And that's not from catch and runs.
Some are.
Yeah.
Some are. I mean, they do a good job at both. But yeah, they take shots down the field. It's not exclusively a short passing game, so we can't just put 11 guys inside the 10-yard line and defend.
What do you see as the strengths of failing?
Man, he's they deploy him in the slot a decent amount, and he's a bigger body for that position. He's a 6'1", 6'2" guy. He's got good length. Really, really, really good body control, understands leverage and how to get open, great hands, probably better athleticism than people give him credit for. But he runs really good routes. He understands how to get open. He's got really good body control. I mean, he makes a lot of good catches because he positions himself well. Obviously, kind of has a good rapport with the quarterback. He's a good receiver, man. He's I don't see a lot of holes in his game, to be honest with you. He's crafty. He's smart. You can just see the way he works to get open, and he understands coverages and how teams are trying to stop him. And then he has good counters off everything people are trying to do to him. So we're gonna have to work to get after him a little bit this week for sure.
How much do you think Minka can learn from last week's game? Obviously, it's a tough opponent. He's young at the position, but he said that was the worst game that he's played this season.
Yeah. I'll let him speak for that. I feel like this is my philosophy with all those guys. I mean, every week, he had some hard lessons. He probably learned last week, and again, that's a Hall of Fame at a minimum quarterback, and they got a good receiving core. And again, for an unfamiliar position for him, he learned some lessons, I hope. But I think that's just all those guys. Like, the more he plays and the more he experiences that, and man, he came in, after the win, Adam gave the guys Monday off, and he came in first thing Monday morning and sat through with Tony and watched the tape. I mean, he literally showed up the first thing and said, hey, texted him, said, hey, I want to go through this with you. You know what I mean? So he didn't wait, and that's the kind of kid he is. So I think all his experiences at all the positions he's played and playing against good players and good quarterbacks, I mean, I think he's just going to keep growing and learning from that as he goes. So sometimes you got to learn some tough lessons and take some knocks on the chin to get better. Cool.
Always embraced that, do you think?
Yeah, he's never said anything. I mean, he's always known that was one of the reasons we drafted him was we liked the fact that he could do all three aspects of our running back. He can run the ball, catch the ball, pass protect. So I mean, he knew it could come in different ways. It could be 10 targets, it could be 20 carries. I mean, we just never know.
You have a magic formula for touches from running back? Or
no, I wish I did. I mean, it's just kind of the flow of the game. I mean, sometimes it's just weird things happen. Sometimes, like one game, Frank goes out, and then all of a sudden, Kenny gets like 12 touches in a quarter.
Running back, receivers, tight ends, they don't want the ball. That's because that's what they do, and that's what they want. They think that if they're not getting the ball, they're not contributing. How do you look at sort of whether it's cool for guys to like say, I want the ball because I can do more, or is it like hard for me to know, like, is that good, is that bad, you know? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no doubt every guy wants as many touches as he can. I mean, receivers probably got one of the more frustrating jobs there is, because you run all day and you get like 3 catches, you know, or 5 catches. Like a good game is you get 8 catches for 100-some yards, like, you know, and there's 70 plays in the game or 60. That's just, I mean, that's a low percentage, but it's kind of, it's what it is. And, you know, when you got a bunch of different guys and, you know, a team takes one guy away and then somebody else has got to kind of step up and make some plays. I mean, it's a little bit of a, you know, mental test of just being able to focus on that play, and when the ball comes to you, just make sure that you make the play we need.
Adam, I'm wondering about emotional hangover after big victories, and I think you said you liked your team's demeanor yesterday, but I think you guys had Jay Ajayi right against Cleveland in 2016, the overtime run. You had the playoff win in Denver, Tim Tebow, I guess, and then yesterday. But are there? I know I'm going back. Are there varying degrees of that emotional hangover, and how do you combat it?
Yeah, every team's different. You know, I mean, a lot of times you know, where we're at right now, and you're in the last month of the season, I don't think you really have time to really think like that. Like when it happens in a playoff game, I mean, that's all you're getting for, you know, the next 3 days or 5 days, whatever it is. You know, I think our guys have done a good job of moving on, and, you know, it was a great way for the game to end for us. And, you know, we have to focus on the next one, because if we don't, we could be over, you know, and I don't think our guys are ready for that. They want to keep fighting. They want to keep seeing if we can put ourselves in position to where, you know, when the last week's done, we can keep going.
Did you address that when the team gathered again? Sort of, hey, forget about what happened Sunday thing?
I mean, we covered a lot of stuff, so, I mean, that may or may not have been part of it.
Adam, can you talk about the challenges of facing a team that basically has 2 #1 receivers?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, both those guys are, I remember when Diggs was a rookie. I mean, he was tough then. He kind of, I mean, everybody said he came out of nowhere. I mean, I think a lot of people knew who he was, and then he made plays right out the gate. And then the way that Dillon's playing right now, I mean, he's a tough guy to cover. I mean, I've seen, because we've had so many crossover games, I've seen about every way that he's been doubled this year, and it's, some people got creative, and it didn't matter. Like, they found a way to get him the ball, and he found a way to get open. He does a really good job with his routes. He makes it really tough for whoever's covering him, or the 2 guys that are trying to cover him. He makes it really tough.
How does a guy with that skill set end up small school, undrafted, no invite to the combine, schools won't even let him do a 40? Like, how in the world does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, I can't explain anything up to, you know, the last couple of years, you know, when I think he was a restricted free agent, and kind of, you know, you kind of comb through and start watching guys, and when, you know, we were watching him, I'm like, wow, this guy is, like, where'd this guy come from? And, I mean, he just keeps getting better. And he's seeing some different stuff that he's probably never gone against before, but he's finding ways to, he's figuring out within the game how to get open.
I want to ask you about Juwan James, and how many times would you say, or how many tackles would you say can pull and turn a corner like Juwan has been doing this year?
I think a lot of them probably do it really well on air, but not a lot of guys probably can do what he does, because he can accelerate really fast, and he gets going, and that's a big man coming around the corner at a high rate of speed, and that's why you see him get cut by the DBs, which I know that doesn't feel great for him. But when he turns that corner, I mean, if he gets somebody squared up, we're going to have a hole. And a lot of times when he comes around the corner, people are getting out of the way, so we're getting a hole there anyways. So that's been big for us. It's really helped. Last week it was really beneficial for us. Like, you know, we had a couple good, you know, 10-plus yards on some carries there, and we try to mix it up with him and just keep giving him some different ways to on certain plays, if it's gap scheme, of pulling him every once in a while, and then, it helps him with all the other runs because people are aware that when he pulls, he does a good job with it.
How much growth have you seen from him over the course of while you guys have been together?
I think this year it's been, I want to say it's been as consistent as I remember. Maybe last year I'd a little hazier because he missed some time, at the end of the year. But I mean, he's had some tough matchups this year. This is probably, out of the 3 years, this is probably the first time where it feels like every week he's getting a tough matchup. He's getting one of the guys that people are talking about, like, wow, this guy's really having a good year. I mean, he's had another one this week, and this is probably this would probably be a top 2, So, that's what it is. I mean, the DNs in this league are getting better and better, and the guys that can block them and use their help the right way and kind of set yourself up, those are the guys that are going to have success. And I think he's doing a good job of doing the things that we're asking him to do. And when he's on an island, he's figuring out a way to get those guys covered up and pushing past the quarterback and making sure that guy can't jump inside and get a free hit.
And kind of on that same note, you guys have a play where Juwan and Jesse pull. I think Frank Gore usually gets the ball. I know Kenyon's gotten it. But at a glance, that seems to be a very successful play for you guys. Has that been one of your most successful running plays this year?
It's when we've called it, it's been pretty good. There's been, we tried to run it at the end of the half, and I mean, that one didn't work as well. So that kind of started a free fall there. But, it all depends on the front and kind of how the points of entry are. And I mean, it starts with the first guy. When Jesse comes through, if he's clean on his, then Juwan can get through it. Now all of a sudden you got something going. So, I mean, it's been good probably the majority of the time. But I mean, there are times where we've run it where it's been a negative play or 0 yards.
Is that usually a Frank play, or does?
No, I mean, I don't even know who's in the game half the time when I'm calling those. So.
When you're looking at opponents, how often do you sort of make mental notes on guys that pop out at you from other teams so that down the road, if, the situation is right, you could...
most of those guys don't usually get out of whatever team they're at, because they get re-signed and when it's free agency and things like that. But it probably happens a little bit, when you see a guy and you're like, man, that guy's a really good player. And so if that ever comes up, you remember stuff like that. You remember, especially when you play him, you're going to remember all the things that guy disrupted.
And is it an advantage when you find guys off of division rivals? Because you're hurting them.
Yeah, I mean, it's, especially if you get around them and those guys are really contributing for you, then that's a good thing for us.
At this point, would it be a surprise if Xavier played?
I won't be surprised by anything around here, for sure. I think we've almost covered everything.
How's he doing?
He seems good. I mean, he's just got to, get to the point where he's testing out, and, it's really the quick twitch lateral stuff to see where he's at on that. We're just trying to make sure that we do right by him, and, it's really going to be, like, he's going to have to tell me I'm good, let's go, so, and I just want to make sure that when he comes back, he feels right.
I want to ask you a question about your favorite topic, which is third downs offensively.
Yep.
They are #1 in the league.
Awesome.
How much of a challenge is that? I mean, and have you, I know it's about getting into favorable down and distances, heading into third downs, but have you figured out what has been the crisis?
Yeah, I mean, I go through it every week. I keep watching the same stuff over and over again, I feel like, but you add that game and then go back through it and kind of watch what you've done and what other teams do against you. And, some of it is we don't execute it. Sometimes it's a bad call. I've had a couple of those where it's just, dialed up the wrong thing at the wrong time. Like that third one last week, that was, wish if I could have one back, that would be it. And, we just got to keep working it. We got to keep trying to figure out what's our strength and we got to get the ball to the right guys. We got to get it to the guys that can get us the first down, whether it be running the ball, catching it, whatever it is. I mean, right now I think we're open for business when it comes to trying some different stuff when we need to, and the right situation calls for it. You know, we need to just get the ball into the guys that can make plays.
Have you changed the routine of how you work on third downs? Or
we have tried everything. I mean, it's just the way it is right now. We just got to keep working on it. We got to try to. It really comes down to we got to get the ball in the right guy's hands.
What percentage of your time do you think you spend scheming plays versus being the CEO of the team?
I don't even know. I can't. That's a hard one to answer because everything moves faster in the day, to where you can be doing one thing and watching film, and all of a sudden something comes up. We got to go deal with that and then come back. I mean, that's how it is all day. You know, there's no shortage of. I guess I'm not looking for stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like there's something on my plate all the time.
Alright guys, you've reached the end of my video. This is the end of the interviews. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you enjoyed my show. Also, as a whole, if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you hit the like button. And please share your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. It's for you. This is for you. And also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. It's on the end screen. My Twitter handle is on the end screen if you need to know it. And with that, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.